Peter Leithart's Against Christianity is a Molotov cocktail lobbed at the milquetoast religion of modern Christianity. It's not a hobby. It's a totalizing way of life that spits in the face of secular sludge. Leithart dismantles the neutered, privatized faith, demanding a public, biblical, church-forged witness that burns bright. Welcome to Contraundum.
The American Revolution, in other words, is never finished. It must always be renewed.
Greater love than this hath no man, than that he lay down his life for his friend.
What if it's not envy?
We must take back our cities, and take back our culture, and take back our country. God bless you, and God bless America.
We're back.
We're back. Welcome, everyone.
How was your trip?
It was good.
Good. Where'd you go?
All over the world.
Nice, dude. That's awesome.
Around the world in 20 days.
Good.
Yeah. How
Amazing.
was your trip?
It was good. We saw a lot of things. Visited a lot of. We didn't prep any of this. Obviously, we're a little raw. It's been 2 weeks. A lot of reflection.
We forgot how to do this.
Although I have some good news for everybody. Gary is back.
Gary is back. That's why everything's moving seamlessly.
Yes.
Yeah, we're up to Gary 9 now.
Gary 9.
So yeah, no man. Things are good. Things have been busy.
Let's talk about the podcast.
Yeah, what about it?
Why did we take a break?
Is
Is this related to your Twitter break?
Yeah, we have a lot going on. We have a ton of work to do, especially with church, but many other things. Like we actually want to get the Appeal to Heaven done and out, the history series. So we've been doing a lot of work on that, and
it's a lot. It takes a lot of work to repeal the 20th century.
Yes, that's right. It does. And I mean, there's just there's so much information there. I mean, that's the thing. Like you and I, we've read a lot over the years. Some of it is you have to refresh your memory of the things that you've read. So we have a good idea of like where to look and what things to read. But as soon as you overturn like one stone, it's like, oh man, yeah. Before I can like really speak authoritatively about XYZ thing, I need to read like 10 more books.
Yeah.
And this is
kind
kind
of
of
repeal Obama without repealing Reagan. That's the thing. Once you repeal Reagan, you got to go back and repeal Johnson.
Yeah, and you can't stop there. You got to repeal FDR, right? So there's a lot going on.
A lot of
repealing that must happen. And so yeah, there's so much work to be done on that. There's a lot of work. I mean, the things are going great here. Like people are coming here, moving here, and the more folks that we have here, the more stuff there is that we got to do, which is exciting.
There's exciting things. I mean, the project is exciting. I mean, we've had a constant flow of guests and visitors and people that are interested in the area, which is very exciting. We're having fun, that's the thing. Lots of energy. The church is going great.
Even though we feel low energy right now because we're so tired. We're tired. I'm tired, boss.
A lot of fatigue.
But no, we got so much going on, and it's a blast. Come join us. So today, and like for the next few weeks, what I want to do. I mean, there's a lot. I mean, we mostly focus on current events, things going on. And we want to shift gears a little bit. I mean, we'll still talk about current events here and there. But it's that in and of itself is fatiguing, like talking about the current thing constantly and keeping watch of the current thing.
Well, I mean, we were talking with the New Christian and Press guys, who obviously are partners in this. And we were just reflecting on the fact that a lot of the primary core of our audience is younger people, and they feel
young men. Apparently, there's like
100%. Right? Wasn't our
like 4 women listening to this at any time? One of them's my wife.
My wife doesn't know we have a show, so
yeah, she has no idea.
But like we were just reflecting on the fact that people are kind of sapped of the constant flow of headlines, and there's nothing meaningful, and just that need for permanence. I think that is dawning on us as a generation, and so we wanted to do something that's longer lasting, that people can come back to these episodes years from now and still get something out of it.
Yeah, I think so, and I mean that's part of it is like the constant churning, the churning of news and headlines and things like that. I mean, it's fun because things happening, nothing ever happens is really entertaining. But there's you sort of reach a point, and I think especially now, like what, 7 months into Trump part 2, it's very much like, okay, we get all the things going on, right? We all get it. We all get the stuff going on. So like, what do we do?
Yeah.
Right. What do we do? What do we do now? And part of it is like, we actually are building permanent things, right? We're building institutions. We are doing things, right? You can just do things. And so we are. And so, our intent is like, okay, what actually like drives how I think, how you think, things like this, delving into some of this stuff. I mean, that's a question I get a lot, is like, well, what books should I read? It's like, well, it's time for book report, time to talk about books like this. And this one, and it's like, okay, before Against Christianity, even before we get into it, it's it's one of those things where, when you're thinking about, okay, permanent lasting stuff, doing meaningful things. I mean, some of it is, okay, this book for me, I think I read it, almost 20 years ago. When did it come out? Like 2006. So almost 20 years, the better part of 20 years ago, 2003. Yeah, I probably didn't read it till 2006.
These were old essays on biblical horizons, or
I think so, yeah. And like that one, it like rattled me. I had grown up in modern American evangelicalism, and when you're a fish in water, you don't know that you're in water. And it helped me see that I was in water, right? It helped me see some of the many of the things that you just take for granted, you don't even think about. And how much, modernistic Enlightenment thought just dominated my entire, view of the world, view of reality. And so it shook me from these things. And I've gone back to read it, 2 or 3 times since then. Recently read it again, and that's the thing about like books like this, where, and it's pretty short. You read it and you think, there's a major impact first time you read it, like, whoa, that shook me. And then you go back and read it again. It's like, oh, wow, I missed all sorts of stuff. Partly because like you understand so many more things, and you understand the context of the things he's writing. And now, 15 or 20 years later, I'm like, oh, wow, I forgot how impactful this book is. So, so instead of just talking about the book, we should like talking about the book. We should actually talk about the book. So go ahead.
I mean, we could read the first part. It's pretty provocative, and that's like, I was a little bit like, I get a little annoyed with some of this, but keep in mind he's being provocative. And he's trying.
Gets annoyed easily.
I get annoyed. The Bible never mentions Christianity. It does not preach Christianity, nor does it encourage us to preach Christianity. Paul did not preach Christianity, nor did any of the other apostles. During centuries when the church was strong and vibrant, she did not preach Christianity either. Christianity, like Judaism and Yahwehism, is an invention of biblical scholars, theologians, and politicians, and one of its chief effects is to keep Christians and the church in their proper marginal place. The Bible speaks of Christians and of the church, but Christianity is Gnostic, and the church firmly rejected Gnosticism from her earliest days. So obviously he's...
Okay, so why are you annoyed, first off?
Because, okay, well, let's just get into this. there's his actual point, which is Christianity, but he has in mind like this modernistic, sort of like this thing that's a choice among a variety of other things. Like you
Yeah.
could choose Islam, you could choose Judaism, Hinduism, or Christianity. Pick your choice.
Or you could choose, whatever religion Redditors believe.
Which is what?
I don't know.
Redditism.
Yeah. I mean, we should really have a name for it.
Yeah, we should have a name for it.
So they definitely believe it.
So he's talking about Christianity as this siloed thing that's can be chosen by anyone as they're picking the way they want to live their life, and as they're picking the things that they want to believe. You can be a conservative or a liberal, you can be a Christian or secularist. He's talking about this thing that's internalized and privatized, that you can add on to your life to improve it.
Yeah, and it's within a very secularized, individualized context where you're just choosing from the buffet of possible religious beliefs, or including none, right? That's and it's all private, internalized. It's all just me and what I want,
right?
So it's all subjective.
So that's what he has in mind.
Yeah, when he uses Christianity.
The reason I was getting mad is because Christianity has basically been a reference to the faith since the Middle Ages.
Yeah, and even before then, yeah.
So it's so it hasn't always had this modernist flavor.
Yeah, it's our word, so that's why you're annoyed. It's like it's our word. Don't
exactly
give it to them. But so as we talk about this, when we are reading this book, that's how he's using it. Obviously, he's
he's trying to be provocative.
Yeah, he of course he is, and it's he is a conservative reformed minister and still is, despite what that one guy in the PCA who held up that list. You remember that? His name was
on there.
He was on there, yeah. And he didn't think he was going to see it. And all these guys have left the faith, or offed themselves, or whatever, like or cheated other wives. And it's like, I don't think Dr. Leiter's done any of those things. Apparently that guy thinks so. But no, he's conservative reformed minister. Like, he actually believes in Christianity, like the religion of the Bible, the religion of the Christian faith. Like he holds to that, teaches it, and preaches it, and so forth. So this is not like a pagan or atheistic attack on Christianity. Like, you look at the title and you think that might be what it is. You might think like, whoa, the title of the episode, against Christianity. Did these guys convert to paganism? What is going on?
Anybody who knows Peter Leithart knows that he's trying to be provocative here. But I like the word Christianity.
Me too.
I do think that he's right, and we'll get into this, especially in the theology section, that modern evangelicalism is basically Gnostic. And so he's going to get into that. So that's that. That's my reservations. But let's keep going.
Yeah. Part two.
It's even more provocative. Christianity is the heresy of heresies, the underlying cause of the weakness, lethargy, sickness, and failure of the modern church.
And so, yes, again, he's not using Christianity to mean the true biblical religion of the Bible
or the historic faith. Yeah. I mean, that's one of the things he says. Like, Christianity is an invention of biblical scholars, theologians, and politicians.
Yeah.
In fact, if you're going to talk about modernist Christianity, evangelicalism, I think it's even much more the invention of like marketers and university professors and like the Chick-fil-A people. You know what I mean?
Booksellers and so forth.
That's probably like the culmination of what he's talking about. In a sense, I have stated a simple fact. The word Christianity does not appear in the Bible, so it is quite impossible for the Bible to encourage us to believe or preach or practice Christianity. In itself, this linguistic fact has little significance. I worship and pray to the triune God, though the word Trinity never appears in Scripture. Even the absence of the word Christianity is not entirely irrelevant, because it demonstrates that God is perfectly capable of revealing himself and his plan without using the word.
Yeah, so he's not doing like a linguistic trick, there, admittedly, because people will do that. Well, Trinity is not in the Bible, so therefore it must not be real.
That's not what he's doing.
No, he's not doing that at all. No.
More important is the fact the Bible does not even have a concept of Christianity. So now he's getting deeper.
Yeah.
This, of course, begs the question of what I mean by Christianity. On the one hand, Christianity sometimes refers to a set of doctrines or a system of ideas. It is contrasted with the teachings of Judaism, Buddhism, Hinduism, or Islam. By this definition, Christianity is what Christian people believe about God, man, sin, Christ, the world, the future, so on. The Bible, however, never speaks of such beliefs, except as an all-embracing, self-committing confession of God's people. The Bible gives no hint that a Christian belief system might be isolated from the life of the church. So now he's getting closer.
Yeah, here we go.
Subjected to the scientific or logical analysis and have its truth compared with competing belief systems. So this is really
Quote,
the core of
unquote,
what he's
yeah.
talking about is Christianity is not a doctrine of propositions. It's not a body of propositions.
It's not a propositional nation.
No. Is it even a nation?
Yeah.
I mean, he's going to get into that, but like, this is actually, this actually cuts to the core with my own faith in me coming of age, because if you remember, for me back in the day, Christianity was nothing but a set of propositions.
Yeah. Logical syllogisms and so forth.
Yeah. They're things that we hold in our mind, and anyone who shares those propositions with another, anyone who has a sense to this body of propositions is a Christian, and Christianity is first and foremost a worldview.
Yeah.
And
that'll get us in trouble being against worldview. That could be a chapter. That could be a chapter.
Well, he kind of gets into that.
Yes, he does.
I mean,
here, let me go on reading it.
Sure.
The church is not a people united by common ideas which collectively go under the name Christianity. When the Bible speaks of a people united by faith, it does not simply mean that we have the same beliefs about reality. Through the New Testament, though the New Testament does use faith to refer to a set of teachings, for example, 1 Corinthians 16:13, Timothy 4:1, 2 Timothy 4:7, faith stretches out to include one's entire stance in life, a stance that encompasses beliefs about the world, but also unarticulated or inarticulable attitudes, hopes, and habits of thought, action, or feeling. To be of one mind, Philippians 1:27, means to share projects, aspirations, and ventures, not merely to hold to the same collection of doctrines. Besides, the church is united not only by one faith, but also by one baptism, Ephesians 4:4-6, manifests her unity and common participation in one loaf, 1 Corinthians 10:17, and lives together in mutual deference, submission, and love. The Bible, in short, is not an ideological tract and does not teach an ideology. Scripture does present a certain view of the world that has true propositional content, but it is an error and a fatal one to suggest that once we have systematized the propositional content of Scripture, the result is a worldview called Christianity to which we can give our assent, and there an end. French usage notwithstanding, Christianism is a radical distortion to think of Scripture's teaching as an ism.
Mm-hmm.
Any comments there about that?
I mean, you can tell that this is Gnostic because what he's
reacting against.
When you think Christianity as a body of propositions, the only way a body of propositions can actually have any meaning is if they're internally or individualized.
Yeah.
Only the individual minds can accept propositions. And so there's no actual community, except in as much as we happen to agree.
That's right.
And so that's what he's pushing against. And so you're a Christian and you believe in, you're adherent of Christianity if you believe the same propositions as someone else, and everything is siloed and individualistic.
I mean,
and the logical result of that is the Baptist.
Well, yeah, and and you can see that in American culture. I mean, you even see this with, when we won't get into the details of this because it would be a whole big thing. But when the church the Catholic Church in Gaza was shelled, and there's a certain internet commentator who's like, well, those aren't actually Christians that were killed.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And you can get into all the reasons why he says that. But part of it is this. They don't believe exactly the same propositions I do. And so therefore they're not Christians.
Yeah.
Right. There's very modernistic, schismatic, and it's different than like the Reformation, right? Where obviously this is an argument about doctrine in the Reformation, right?
Mm-hmm.
And whether or not people holding to different doctrines are actually believers or not. This is much more modernistic, where it's even more reductionistic, right? Where it's even like, I mean, you even see this with the one guy. I mean, he's kind of squishy, the Baptist guy that became Anglican, and all of these people. Well, he's clearly on the way to Rome. He's not going to be a Christian much longer, you know, because he likes liturgy and so forth.
Yeah, Matt Barrett, yeah.
And it's like, I mean, oh, maybe, but I don't think so. There's lots of people who become Anglican and never, you know, become Roman Catholic. And even beyond that, it's like, okay, you're saying, right, well, these guys don't believe the same doctrines I do. Therefore they must be evil and bad. They're not really Christians. I mean, it results in you ever shrinking circle. It results in a purity spiral, right? This kind of modernist mind where, well, we all hold the same ideas together, and it's only us who hold these ideas together that are actual Christians, and it rejects, you know, centuries and millennia of Christian history and tradition, like people that bled and died for the faith, and I mean, where it's almost like, okay, until about AD 100, or at least AD 8325, right until Constantine, right? That's the early church, and then from 8325 to like 1517, there were no Christians anywhere ever.
Which is a common view.
Which none of the reformers held to, right? Not a single one, right? They're constantly drawing on the history and tradition within Christendom to make their arguments, right? I mean, this is the thing that, I mean, even
this is exactly
like Roman Catholic friends of mine will be like, oh, to read history is to cease to be Protestant. You know, you constantly hear, and it's like, have you read Calvin's Institutes? Right? He's constantly quoting church fathers and medieval church theologians to make his arguments.
I think they have a ridiculously modernist view of Protestantism when they say that.
Of course.
I mean, that's the whole point.
But it's no different than the people. What I'm saying is, it's no different than the people who are like, well, then no, there were no Christians in that period. Well, no, the reformers didn't believe that at all. And so it all, I think, is a result of viewing Christianity as merely this intellectual propositional thing, that the Spirit really only does its work inside of our minds.
Yeah, exactly. That's the Gnosticism part.
Yeah.
And in fact, like that actually affects everything into politics too, because
yes, it does.
If everything's individualistic like that, then the proposition nation is sort of downstream from that whole trend. So
let's look at the chat quick. There's some probably very good comments. Pilsners pay my Bilsners. Would modern evangelicals consider heroes of the Crusades as not Christian because they were Catholic?
Many of them, yes.
Many of them do. There's a certain tattooed geriatric bicyclist who freaks out if you ever if you're like, oh, I thought Defenders of the West was really good. His head explodes, right? So there are many that do that.
I think those who are like intellectually aware will say that. If you ask some everyday guy on the street, Christian, like in a pew, he'd say, "Oh yeah, they were Christians." Yeah. But like if you actually trace this, this is one of those like ironic like bell curve memes where like the high IQ people like Peter Leithart and the low IQ people believe they're all Christians, but the people in the middle, the midwits, they overthought it.
No, they didn't hold to the exact same formulation of justification by faith that I do. Yeah. They're all in hell, and they used violence, so they're doubly in hell. Like, no, okay, come on. And so anyway, we'll go back to the reading. On the other hand, Christianity is sometimes defined more broadly to embrace not only beliefs of Christian people, but also the practices of the church or liturgies and ways of living in community. This is more healthy than defining Christianity as a system of ideas. Yet even here, the concept of Christianity conflicts with what the Bible reveals insofar as the beliefs and practices of Christianity are seen as religious beliefs and practices over against secular or political or social practices, insofar as Christianity is conceived of as a religious layer added onto human life. So translate that for us,
this
CJ.
is a good point. So this is, he's right that this is better. This is in a different direction because it suddenly takes the faith out of just the individual mind and places it more in a community context. I mean, so when you do that, you're getting closer, because then it's like the body of liturgies, the way of living in a community and all of its practices. And it's this thing that it can exist not only from, individual to individual in this community, but Christianity suddenly becomes something that's connected to the past as well. So when you enter this area, he's right that you get in a healthy direction. However, what he's really saying here is that if this is framed within a modernist construct, what's going to happen is Christianity is, again, siloed from other aspects of human life. So the human life, the human being, the human community can have a religious aspect to it, which is Christianity, but there's other concerns that he has. He's got politics, economics, social, the budget, all of these things. And Christianity just pertains to the ways of living, the things that you do related to religious life. So he's saying that this is better because it takes things out of the mind.
Yeah.
It's not just this individualistic, Gnostic reference point, but it's still a mistaken if you see it as just this siloed, again, the human life is a buffet, and I'm going to choose a little bit of this thing, which is religious, and Christianity is going to be that thing. Yeah. He's saying even there, you're still thinking it as a modernist. It's still siloed. Mm-hmm. It's still one of many options.
Well, it's one of many parts of life too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's you have to cut even deeper is what he's going to say here.
Yeah. Scripture does not urge us to embrace religion in this sense. The Christian is not a natural man who has become religious. Already before conversion, Paul said many early Christians were highly religious, devoting themselves earnestly to the worship of idols. Conversion, moreover, did not just involve a change of liturgical habit. According to the New Testament, the Christian participates in a new creation, 2 Corinthians 5:17, and is a spiritual person in contrast to the natural person, 1 Corinthians 2:6-16. A human who is, as many recent theologians have put it, human in a different way. To be Christian means to be refashioned in all of one's desires, aims, attitudes, actions, from the shallowest to the deepest.
All right, so I have a little bit of a
nit to pick.
Yeah, just a little bit of one.
Okay.
There's a danger here in seeing grace not restoring nature, but conquering nature, if you don't think about this in the right way. He's not saying that, just knowing Peter Leithart's background, but there's some of this sort of like the Van Tillian stuff can seep in here. I think that if you keep that emphasis on, and these are things that maybe Leithart would have expressed differently if he did so today, but
perhaps,
But the religious and the natural things shouldn't be pitted against each other.
Yeah,
I think the most natural way of living religiously is that recreation man.
Yeah,
and so it is. It does actually refashion one's desires, aims, attitudes, and actions from the shallowest to the deepest, because you're being recreated.
Yeah.
And the natural is actually good. It's not something that has to be conquered by grace.
That's right.
It's something that can be saved by grace.
Yeah. Restored. Yeah. This is not a matter of giving shape to unshaped human nature. There is no formless underlying human stuff waiting to be molded into a Christian shape. We have no desires or aims or thoughts or attitudes in general. We always desire certain things rather than others. Aim in one direction and not another. Think about this or think about that. The stuff is always already formed. For the unbeliever, the problem is not that the stuff is unformed, but that it is badly and wrongly formed and has to be reformed and transformed into the form of Christ. If one is a Christian at all, he or she, however imperfectly, a Christian is a Christian from head to toe, inside and out. As James Fowler put it, everyone has a way of leaning into life, and the Christian strives to lean into life, all of life, Christianly. Conversion does not simply install a new religious program over the existing operating system. It installs a new operating system. You're like,
no, I don't know. Like, I get his point.
Yeah.
But does that mean like the natural affections that we have for each other
go away?
Yeah. So it's just important to keep in mind that a lot of this is the restoration of our natural inclinations.
Yeah. I think that's
so. it's not like you lose the natural inclinations because you have a new operating system. Christianity reforms it, restores it to its original created purpose.
Yeah, you don't stop loving your children or
But that's
whatever.
important because
Yeah.
someone can take this
and make it
a lot of
turn it into that. Yeah.
yeah, and you know the people I'm talking about that do this.
Oh yeah. Christian community, by the same token, is not an extra religious layer on social life. The church is not a club for religious people. The church is a way of living together before God, a new way of being human together. What Jesus and the apostles proclaimed was not a new ideology or a new religion in our attenuated modern sense. What they proclaimed was salvation, and that meant a new human world, a new social and political reality. They proclaimed that God had established the eschatological order of life in the midst of history, not perfectly, but truly. The church anticipates the form of the human race as it will be when it comes to maturity. She is the already of the new humanity that will be perfected in the not yet of the last day. Conversion thus means turning from one way of life, one culture to another. Conversion is the beginning of a re-socialization, induction into an alternative paideia, and inculturation into the way of life practiced by the eschatological humanity. In the New Testament, we do not find an essentially private gospel being applied to the public sphere, as if the public implications of the gospel were a second story built on the private ground floor. The gospel is the announcement of the Father's formation through his Son and the Spirit of a new city, the city of God.
What do you think of
that? Yeah, I think it's true. What do you think?
I think it's right, but again, like there's a certain aspect of Christianity that's meant to bring mankind from his original created state into what he was always meant to achieve.
Mm-hmm.
Adam and Eve in the garden, that wasn't perfection. It wasn't them in glory.
No.
And the point of the point of Christ is to bring man into the glorious state.
Into maturity. Yeah.
Into maturity.
Yeah.
And Christ would have come to fulfill that purpose even if man had never sinned.
Yeah, now we're getting into controversial speculative theology,
But
CJ. No, you're right.
The
You're
reason
totally
I
right.
say that is because, in a sense, Christ does bring this new layer, which brings man to glory. And so you need the foundations in order to get there.
Yeah.
And this is using Peter Leithart against Peter Leithart.
We should just drive down to Birmingham and go get him so you can argue with him.
Maybe he'll watch this
instead of me.
And I
don't think you're arguing with him.
I don't think I'm arguing with him either.
Yeah.
But I'm just clarifying that I'm a little bit, cynical of this tendency to think of man as something that has to be scrapped down to nothing in order to be recreated.
Yeah, I don't think that's what he's getting at here. Although some people could take it in that direction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. So let's go on to section 4. This section 4 is the one I had highlighted that we'll talk about the most here today. Throughout this book, I use the word city to refer both to actual cities, ancient and modern, and to civilizations from civitas, ancient and modern. Modernity refers to the civilization of the West since about 1500. Culturally, modernity is characterized by value pluralism, which entails the privatization of religious institutions and religious claims. Every individual and every group chooses its own values, and civil society is the arena where those values enter into combat. Politically, modernity is shaped by liberalism, the political system dedicated to the one proposition that political systems must not be dedicated to one proposition. Oh, what did the footnote there say?
I'm gonna read it. I have it.
Yeah, I had it circled.
It says Charles Taylor's definition of secular modernity is handy. Modernity is secular, not in the frequent, rather loose sense of the word, where it designates the absence of religion, but rather in the fact that religion occupies a different place, compatible with the sense that all social action takes place in profane time. Taylor is delighted with this. We're living, says Taylor, we're living in the best political order yet achieved in human history. Unquote. I am not. If all social action takes place in profane time, the church's actions do not qualify as social actions. These quotations are from an interview with Taylor by Bruce Benson, yada yada.
Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, that is the thing. I mean, just reading that quote again, politically, modernity is shaped by liberalism, the political system dedicated to the one proposition that political systems must not be dedicated to one proposition, right? That
Everybody chooses their own.
Life is a choose your own adventure, right? There are no unchosen duties and obligations and bonds that you have to other people that preceded you or that will come after you. You could be whatever you want to be. It's like the what was it? Planned Parenthood versus Casey, the majority opinion on that, where it's like, basically they're saying the reason they ruled this is because life you could just be whatever you want to be. I wish I had the quote verbatim, right? But like that was in the Supreme Court's decision, was like, yeah, you could just be whatever you want.
Choose your own reality.
Yeah. That is modernity. That is the liberal order. Is everyone's an individual. You could be whatever it is you want to be. You have no duties or obligations to anyone else that were given to you by birth. And of course, that flies in the face, of course, of reality, and it reaches its final form in transgenderism, right?
Mm-hmm.
You didn't choose to be a man or a woman. That was foisted upon you at birth. Some doctor have looked between your legs when you were born and said, that's a boy or that's a girl. And I didn't choose that.
Yeah, that's a natural culmination of centuries of thought.
Yeah, transgenderism is the apotheosis of Enlightenment thought and liberalism. Yeah. Right. Every individual is just free to choose whatever they want to be. Right. XX and XY chromosomes be damned. Right. I mean, you can be whatever you want.
That's the rhetoric that we all grew up with, is that you can do whatever you want to do. You can be whoever you want to be. And what's the result of that? Transgenderism. And pedophilia is next, because if that's what you are, then that's what you are. You get to choose your own destiny.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that he's getting at, this truth about modernity that's been well talked about. I mean, I think Pope Pius X talked about this, that modernity is the synthesis of all heresies. And I think that's what he's driving at here.
Yeah. So continuing on, like, though it has roots in the patristic period, Christianity in its more developed form is the church's adjustment. So again, he's using Christianity as shorthand for, the modernistic perversion of the Christian faith. In its more developed form, is the church's adjustment of the gospel to modernity, and the church's consequent acceptance of the world's definition of who we are and what we should be up to. Christianity is biblical religion disemboweled and emasculated by voluntary intellectualization and or privatization. Right. So, I mean,
that's a great summary statement of
this paragraph is like the book in a nutshell. Right. Though it has roots in I'll read it again because I like it. Though it has roots in the patristic period, Christianity in its more developed form is the church's adjustment of the gospel to modernity and the church's consequent acceptance of the world's definition of who we are and what we should be up to. Christianity is the biblical religion disemboweled and emasculated by voluntary intellectualization and or privatization. Christianity is not merely a haphazard embrace of the values and practices of the modern world. Worldliness, in that sense, has plagued the church since Corinth and will be a temptation to the end of time. Christianity, again, is shorthand for modernistic perversion of Christianity, is institutionalized worldliness, worldliness accepted in principle, worldliness not at the margins, but at the center, worldliness built into the foundation. Christianity is worldliness that has become so much of our second nature that we call it piety. Right. So this is where like regime evangelicalism comes from.
Yeah, really
like when you talk about, the term that you invented, by the way, you never get enough credit for that. Regime evangelicalism. It's the worldly, like when you think of Russell Moore, David French, or all of these people that are like this, that it's their worldliness, right? Or even the ERLC, right? The Southern Baptist group that is pushing like amnesty, right?
Mhm.
Like all that kind of stuff. Christianity is worldliness that has become so much our second nature that we call it piety.
Yeah.
So they think all of their squishiness, all of their treachery that they do is actually the most profound expression of the Christian faith that they can do, when in fact it is the rejection of it.
Yeah.
They
No,
believe
you
it's
see
their
this-
piety.
I mean, like a good example of this is like sort of the cult of niceness and tolerance,
Oh yeah,
where,
yeah,
you can't speak the truth. You can't represent, the biblical faith, because to do so would not be nice. And that's not Christian.
yeah.
To
You
be
can't
Christian is to
do
be
that.
nice.
Yeah,
That's
Yeah.
the piety. That's the
Yeah.
fake piety.
yeah.
To be quiet and pious in the face of evil is what's expected of us.
Yeah, precisely. I'm in the middle of writing. A few people asked. They sent me this interview that Joe Rogan did with this state representative, really awful guy in Texas, who is
So he's Indian.
No, he's not. No, he's American. And he's this like leading anti-Christian nationalist speaker. Like he's this Prague lefty Christian that gets like the why-nots really going. And he does. Like, I mean, they go nuts for this stuff. And it's all about, well, it's all about the Sermon on the Mount and the teachings of Jesus, and how you just need to love and be nice and be kind. Right. And, I was taught growing up that if you wanted to be a Christian, you needed to hate gay people, which nobody has ever taught that. You need to hate gay people. But I discovered by the teachings of Jesus that you can love homosexuality, that it's actually good. Right. Like, this is the kind of stuff that, and how do you defend that? How do you defend the actual content of the Bible if your main operating precept is, I just got to be nice?
Yeah.
Right. Like, that guy's a snake.
I'll tell you how you defend
That
it.
guy's just an absolute serpent.
The way you defend it is the God of the New Testament is different than the God of the Old Testament.
Yeah, that's how they do it. Yeah.
That's how they do it.
And that God was really mean, and then Jesus came, and now he's nice. Like, I mean, that is actual not like, that's what actual Gnostics taught.
Yeah. Yeah, no, seriously, yeah.
Like, it literally is, right? I mean, people throw around the GN word all the time. But that literally is what they taught. And of course, like, no, the Bible's all one book. It's all God's word, all of it. And
it all reveals the character of God.
And if you're a Christian, you hold to all of it. And in many cases, you have to not be nice.
Wait, I wasn't actually saying that's what I believe. I'm saying that's what they teach.
No, yeah, CJ's not saying that. Let's be very clear. CJ's not saying that. No, he's not saying that at all. But the GN word is Gnostic or Gnosticism. The GN the GN word. Yeah, that's right. So anyway, Gary is back. He's back in action. And so, yeah, like, you have or you have to be nice. You just have to be sweet and nice all of the time. And the hilarious thing actually is, if you read the Gospels and you see the character of Jesus in the Gospels, most of the time he's not very nice at all. Mm-hmm. Right? He is like in the face of evil people, telling them off,
calling them names, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, he's not very nice to them.
No.
And so no, but
he is,
the point of Christianity is not being nice.
No, but he is merciful.
Oh, he's merciful, and he's kind, and particularly to the weak. Mm-hmm. And the weak in American society are not not the people that are
It's featured
featured
in ads and
and given an entire month of
Yeah.
celebration and things like. No, the people that are weak are and downtrodden and despised and hated in American culture are the people that live in middle America who don't have very much.
Mhm.
Right. Poor people, poor working people are the chuds, as they're called on the internet. That's who's hated, right? That's who's despised. You could go on TV and make fun of, rednecks and hillbillies and call them way worse things than that. And you'll never get censored
Mhm.
for that. You could bash those people all day long, right? That's the actual weak and marginalized and people on the fringes, right? Not the people that are celebrated by our culture. No way.
Yep.
So anyway, part 5. You want to read it?
Yeah.
I've been reading the whole time. You go ahead.
But I like to read. We have made the church strange and alien to the world, as if she were of a completely different order than the institutions of common social and political life. Paradoxically, the result of this estrangement has been to reshape the church into the image of the world. The church is strange. The church is strange. She is the creation of the Father through Word and Spirit,
He's
the
gonna clip that,
community
too.
of those who have been united by the Spirit with the Son, and therefore brought into the eternal community of the Trinity. She is a city whose town square is in heaven. She is a city without walls or boundary lines, a polity without sword or shield. Of no other society can that be said. But she is ordinary. The church is made up of human beings, with features that identify her as a culture among the cultures of the world. God did not enter a world of books with blurks. He did not intervene in a world of rituals and meals with spatulas and gleals. He did not call his people to live according to specific quormal principles. What's quormal mean? Quormal principles.
I think he's just making up words at this
Okay.
point.
Or to promote a particular oppose.
Yeah, I think these are just nonsense words he's making up because he's saying it's not. It is ordinary, right?
Rather, God created a world of stories, symbols, rituals, and community rules. Into this world of stories, God introduced a rival story. Into a world of books, God came with his own library. In a world of symbols and rituals and sacrificial meals, the church was organized by a ritual bath and a feast of bread and wine. In the midst of cultures with their own ethos and moral atmosphere, God gathered a community to produce the aroma of Christ in their life together. Only by insisting on the church's ordinariness can we simultaneously grasp her strangeness. I love this. This is a great section.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
this is like the this probably anticipates what he's going to say in the last chapter on for Constantine. But basically he's saying that all the things that we think about in normal life, the meals that we have, the daily ritual, like people don't even think about the fact that every day we're doing these ritual things. When we're brushing our teeth, we're eating breakfast, we're driving to work. These are all part of our normal thing. And Christianity permeates all of it.
Yeah.
And it comes in with its own rituals. I mean, the bread and wine is not just this opportunity to remember something. It's a ritual. You partake, you participate.
Yeah.
And
It's something
material
tangible.
and material things.
Yeah.
And that's what Christianity, this biblical church is supposed to be made up of.
Yeah. So part 6, and then I think maybe we'll do part 8, and that might be it for today. The church can cut across the grain of existing human, social, and cultural life only if she bears some likeness to existing societies. If she is a completely different sort of thing, then societies and nations and empires can go on their merry way, ignoring the church, or equally deadly, find some murky alleyway to push her into. But if the church is God's society among human societies, a heavenly city invading the earthly city, then a territorial conflict is inevitable. Right? I mean, and that actually gets into the entire controversy surrounding Christian nationalism. I just scared Gary, right? But it does, right? If Christianity, if the Christian religion, the Christian faith is merely this private, intellectual, right? Just you and your relationship with Jesus, just me and my Bible thing, well, then it doesn't really matter. to anything, right? It's just that's your oh cool man, that's your own thing that you do. You know, I like playing pickleball. I don't, but people would say that.
Yeah.
Right? I have that's the cool. I got hobbies too. I like building trains.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
building
exactly.
like it doesn't matter at
Mhm.
that point. But if it is a entirely new way of living, not just for yourself, but everyone together within the church, and it's an entirely new way of living for all of humanity, then
It's inevitably political.
it inevitably will come into conflict with the human societies that exist in the world.
Mhm.
And that's where the conflict lies. So we'll skip part 7. This it's kind of silly. But I mean, it's actually good. Like the point that he makes is really good. But it's
We
a
could like act it out. Like I could be one guy and you could be
no,
the
we're
other.
not doing that. But it's a play acting scene that he does. When and I recommend everybody get the book. You could read that part yourself. I mean, it's worth reading. Very much so. But it's kind of long. But part 8, as Bonhoeffer
We're
emphasized.
moderates here.
That's right. But he's critiquing Bonhoeffer here.
Okay.
As Bonhoeffer emphasized, given the fact that the church arose from within Judaism, depends what you mean by that. The church should seek to be reformed into a more Hebraic image. Right. This is Bonhoeffer's point. This insight, endorsed by many recent theologians, is often linked to a belief that contemporary Jews are still in covenant with God. This view is called anti-supersessionism. Anti-supersessionism. Say that 10 times fast. Though I cannot here enter into a full critique of anti-supersessionism, one point needs to be made. Exegetically, it is abundantly clear from the New Testament that the covenant is made with Jesus and all who are in him, and only with those who are in him. Anti-supersessionism seems more a result of post-Holocaust guilt than of exegesis. And that's right. He in House for My Name, I was reading the footnote here. In A House for My Name, Survey of the Old Testament, also really, really good. He critiques anti-supersessionism there.
Mhm.
You know, what do you think about that, Mr. Engel? Or do you want to skip commentary on that point?
No, I don't know why it's included in here, but I don't really know why it's included in here. I agree with it. I mean,
you just had to say it.
Yeah, I guess so.
But
I think well, maybe it's because we skipped the dialogue.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of it. Is within the dialogue, it's like, well, you're coming from this, but what are you actually doing? Right. Well, they're not marketing a new religion or
the
way of
point
life.
is, like, you could say that, like, the point is that we have to be in him, we have to be in Christ, and that's how that's what Christianity, or that's what, I don't even know what to call it now, but like the biblical
religion.
Yeah, the biblical religion. But like, I guess that's more of his point, that it's something, it's participatory.
Yeah.
The covenant is something participatory.
That you are part of Christ and one with him, and that the covenant that God has made is with Jesus. Mm-hmm. Right. He is the
I think you have to read section 9 to interpret section 8.
Or section 7 to interpret section 8.
No, you have to read section 9, though. That helps too.
Yeah. We'll go on then. For the New Testament writers, the city of Christians is a heavenly one that will be revealed in the last days. Galatians 4:26, Hebrews 12:18-27, Revelation 21. Churches on earth are outposts of that heavenly Jerusalem, anticipations of the final city, joined in mysterious way, especially in liturgy, with the heavenly city. Every Lord's Day, we, like John, enter into the heavenly places, even while we remain in the middle of the earthly assembly. Heaven is in our midst, and we are in the midst of heaven. Responding with homage and worship to the authority of the risen and ascended Lord, the church is formed as a polity. Yeah. Every church is an urban reality. every Christian lives in the suburbs.
Yeah, so that's a critique of paragraph 8, because
Yeah.
what he's saying there is that actually we shouldn't be more Hebraic.
No.
The church is the thing that we belong to,
Yes.
and the Hebraic age is done for. It's gone.
Well, yeah, like
That's what he's saying.
Yeah, and the Hebraic age was such that this is a particular nation with particular promises, given to it.
Mhm.
And the old covenant age has come to an end where all the nations are now joined to the true Israel, Jesus Christ. That there's a greater and even more glorious age at hand.
Mhm.
And so 10, let me look at the comments. Let's see what guys are saying here.
I think 10 can go next time.
How long have we been going? How long have we been doing this book study? Oh, we've only been going an hour.
How's Gary doing? Is he hanging in there?
Gary's hanging in there, I think. Let's do 10 because I think this is the last one. Oh, it's not the last one. No, we gotta do it. We gotta do it. We're going and we're pushing through. We're going on.
You're the guy that said we were gonna close at 8. So go for it.
We'll keep going. I'm having too much fun. Though weakened in modern Christian usage, the Greek koinonia began its life as a political term. Aristotle's Politics. Oh no. Aristotle.
Sacralism.
Okay, brace yourselves, everyone. I forgot to put a warning in. Aristotle's Politics begins with the claim that every state is an association, koinonia, a term that in some translations is rendered as community. Aristotle recognized that there are various kinds of associations, various ways in which men share projects, goods, talents with each other. The city, polis, is the highest kind of koinonia, a political koinonia. So he quotes Aristotle here. Oh man, I hope you don't have children in the car being exposed to this. Since we see that every city is some sort of community and that every community gets established with some good in view, for everyone does everything for the sake of what they think good, it is clear that while all communities have some good, all they are aiming at, the community that has the control of all and embraces all the others is doing the most of all and is aiming at the most controlling of goods. This community is the city, as it is called, the community that is political. Like other communities, the political koinonia is establishing things that are common, koinos, to the citizens. A city, Aristotle again, a city is not a matter of sharing a place in common or for the purpose of not doing each other wrong or for commerce. Rather, while these things must be present, yet there is a city only when households and families form a community in living well for the sake of a complete and self-sufficient existence. Then the end, of the city is living well. But these other things are for the sake of the end. And a city is the community of families and villages in a complete and self-sufficient life, which we say is living happily and nobly. According to the apostles, the church also forms a koinonia because things are held in common. Ultimately, the koinonia of the church arises from a common sharing in Christ and his spirit, 1 Corinthians 12 through 13. Christ's body and his spirits are public goods, the common property of every member. The basic level of koinonia is in the Son and the Spirit, takes various visible forms in the life of the church. Having a share in the Spirit, each member is obligated to share whatever gifts he receives for the good of the body. What the Spirit gives is, as Augustine would say, only rightly possessed insofar as it is given away. Every gift is a seed which produces a harvest only if it is sown. Table fellowship, likewise, manifests the church's koinonia in the body of Christ, 1 Corinthians 10:16-17. And in Acts, the members of the Jerusalem church consider their own property as wealth to be used for the common good. Acts 2:42 and 44, which use the words koinonia and koinos. For the first Christians in Jerusalem, community life was shaped by common adherence to the teaching of the apostles, participation in common prayers, table fellowship, as well as sharing of alms. In several places, Paul urged a mutual sharing of goods, insisting that those who sow spiritual things by teaching and preaching should reap material things from those who benefit, so that there will be equality or mutuality among all. 1 Corinthians 9:11, 2 Corinthians 8:13-14. Within the church, Paul attempted to establish an economy of gift exchange, a chiasm of gift, reception, and return gift that replicated the eternal communion of love in the Trinity. In short, Paul did not attempt to find a place for the church in the nooks and crannies of the Greco-Roman polis. The church was not an addition, but an alternative to the koinonia of the polis. All right, your thoughts, Mr. Engel. What do you think?
This is a tough one because debates about two kingdoms and our natural affections and the political order outside of the church and our obligations and duties to that come into play here. There's a way to like revolutionize and be leftists using this approach. That's why people like N.T. Wright can, have a left-wing politics.
Yes.
Yes,
indeed.
So,
but I mean, think about it historically. Like what actually happened to the Greco-Roman polis
in the context of what?
Of what he's saying, right? In the context of the church being an alternative polis, an alternative city with an alternative koinonia. Right. Eventually, the Roman polis was overtaken by it. Right. Which does not mean that all of a sudden the Bishop of Rome is in charge of the planet. That's not what it meant, but it meant that the emperor operated under the authority of Christ consciously and submitted to him, and everything that he did was subsumed by that. Right. All of the entire political order flowed down from that. The entire social order would flow from that. Right. It comes into conformity with this reality, which doesn't, I don't think it necessarily implies this, sort of, one kingdom thing or anything like that. I think you can have, this distinction between, and they certainly did have a distinction between church and state, despite what naysayers might say about Constantine and the subsequent Roman emperors. Right. You have what did Constantine do? He legalized Christianity, right? And he converted. Right. I mean, that's always the thing people get wrong is like, no, the official religion of Rome, he didn't change. Right. It was still pagan. It wasn't until Theodosius. That's who made Christianity the official religion. And even there, it wasn't, now paganism is illegal. It's simply, no, this is what I believe. This is what my empire believe. We're a Christian empire now, right? It didn't go from house to house with soldiers with swords, hunting pagans down, right? That's not at all what happened,
right?
But it just died out because, right? Well, if the emperor believes it, I'm going to believe it too.
So he's not arguing that the state can be subsumed by the church. The church has to absorb the task of wielding the sword and all of that.
No, he's not arguing. He's not arguing that whatsoever. But nevertheless, like the gospel does invade these things. That it will mirror the beliefs and practices of the church, right? That's naturally what happens when it conquers, right? So it isn't that they were, converting everyone by force. I mean, this is the nonsense that so many people believe that's what happened.
That's a total modernist dialectic.
No, it's completely fake and ahistorical. So let's do. We've been going for like an hour. Let's do 11. Let's just do. Come on, let's do it, CJ. Do 11. Founded by Philip of Macedon or Macedon. How do you pronounce?
I said Macedon.
Okay. I like Macedon. But
Gary says Macedon.
Okay. Philippi became world famous as the site of the battle in which Antony and Octavian triumphed over Brutus and Cassius. When Octavian later defeated Antony at Actium in 31 BC, he rebuilt Philippi, established a military base, moved in Roman soldiers, and made it a colony. Philippi was brought under the Jus Italicum, the legal quality of Roman territory in Italy, the highest privilege obtainable by a provincial municipality. Since their city had this status, Philippians could purchase property and were exempt from certain taxes. When he was in the city, Paul got a glimpse of the Philippians' pride in their standing as a Roman colony. Paul and Silas exorcised a girl who was being used as a fortune teller.
And as a result, her owners became enraged and brought Paul before the magistrates. Their charges are revealing. Paul and Silas, they said, were throwing our city into confusion by encouraging customs, ethe, which is not lawful for us to accept or to observe, being Romans. Acts 16, 20-21. Paul and Silas's teaching was seen as a threat to Philippi's Roman identity and way of life. As in Thessalonica, Acts 17, 1-9, the apostles were seen as subversives, both of the polis and the empire. Philippi's civic pride is important background to Paul's letter to the Philippians. As pointed out by Stanley Stowers, the letter shows the marks of being a letter of friendship. In expressing his friendship with the church, Paul used words related to koinonia. The Philippians were partners with him in the gospel, co-sharers with his trials, and shared his rejoicing and suffering. Indeed, Paul had entered into koinonia with the Philippians by giving and receiving of gifts, a practice commonly associated with friendship in the ancient world. Similarly, when Paul urged the Philippians to be of one mind, mia psyche, he employed language that had been used for centuries as a definition of friendship. Aristotle's Ethics, he cites here. According to the tradition Paul invoked in Philippians, friendship was not confined to some private sphere. In the Greco-Roman world, friendship was often a quasi-public institution, as much as sharing business or religious enterprises as it was about sharing feelings in private. In keeping with this, both Plato and Zeno the Stoic understood their communities of friends as alternatives to the social order of the Greek city. And the church historian Eusebius wrote of the Epicureans, the school of Epicurus resembles a true commonwealth, politeia, altogether free of factionalism, sharing one mind and one disposition, of which there were and are, and it appears to be, will be willing followers. Paul described the Philippian church as a koinonia of friends, but that did not mean that he reduced the church to a private institution. To say that the church is a community of friends is to say that it is an alternative city. The political dimensions of friendship come to explicit expression in Philippians 1, 27-30, where Paul employed a cluster of friendship terms and phrases. Come and see you remain absent. One spirit, one mind, striving together. Verses 27-30 are a single sentence in Greek, and the main verb is polituo, which means to live as a citizen. All these friendship terms expound on what it means to live as a citizen in a worthy manner, in a manner worthy of the gospel. Philippians 1, 27-30 anticipates the language of Philippians 3:20, where Paul declared that the Philippian Christians were citizens of a heavenly commonwealth, politeuma. The Philippians, so proud of being Roman citizens and so protective of Roman custom, needed to learn to live as citizens of a different commonwealth that placed new demands on its citizens. Right? So that's always the thing when you talk about friends, or even like Jesus calls them friends. Like friend in ancient, Greco-Roman culture isn't just like, this is my buddy, these are my pals, right? Friend is a political term, right? Like if
So it's the opposite of enemy.
Yeah. If Donald, if Donald Trump calls you a friend, right? That's different than like if I call you a friend. That guy's a friend, right? It means I think the guy's cool. He's my buddy. But if he calls you that, it means something entirely different, right? It's in a political context, and they understood it in those terms. Like a community of friends is a city, and self-styled. Like it's understood that way, and so. That's always kind of been the thing. Like you hear people preach through Philippians, and isn't it a nice, lovey-dovey, wonderful letter? It's like, no, it's actually quite politically radical. Yeah. So these political dimensions are further explored in Philippians 3. As N.T. Rice pointed out, one of the puzzles of the chapter is the purpose of Paul's description of his own background as a Jew. One aspect of this is clear. Paul presented himself as a concrete example of the attitude he commended in Philippians 2, 5-11. Like Jesus, Paul emptied himself of all privilege. He urged the Philippians to have this attitude, verse 15. The puzzle is how Paul expected the Philippians to follow my example, since many of the Philippians were not Jews. How could they give up Jewish privileges to follow Jesus? Beginning in chapter 3, Paul conflated Judaism and paganism, as he frequently did. In 3:2, he urged the Philippians to beware of the katatome, translated as false circumcision in the NASB, but actually meaning mutilation. Verse 3 makes it clear that Paul was talking about Jews. The contrast is between katatome, that the Philippians are supposed to avoid, and the peritome, circumcision, that belongs to those who worship in the Spirit of God and glory in Christ Jesus, and put no confidence in the flesh or in the lack thereof. It's making a joke there. A little circumcision humor. Though he is talking about Jews, however, Paul described them in a shocking and utterly pagan manner. Since the New Age had come, Jews who continued to cut the flesh of the foreskin were no better than the castrati who served in pagan temples. Further, as Red explains, Paul was mounting a polemic against the imperial ideology, affirming that Jesus, not Caesar, is Lord and Savior, both prominent terms in imperial propaganda. Paul's claim that Christians are citizens of a heavenly politeuma further indicates that the Philippian Christians are to consider themselves a colony of heaven more than as a colony of Rome. Paul imitated Christ by giving up his privileges as a Hebrew of the Hebrews, and he exhorted the Philippians to follow his example by treating the Roman citizenship and attachment to the Roman emperor as rubbish for the sake of Christ and his heavenly politeuma. In short, throughout Philippians, which some identify as one of the least political of Paul's letters, Paul was treating the church as an alternative to the politico-religious organization and this of the city and of the empire. Right. So, CJ, the question I have is, right, given what he has said about the book of Philippians and what Wright says, and this is the stuff that I think like N.T. Wright is actually like really good on. Right. He's not all N.T. wrong. Right. And so, right, given that's what the book is actually about, it's about, Paul saying, well, I gave up all of that. I was one of the top guys in the Sanhedrin. I was the man, and I gave it all up to serve Jesus. And you should do the same thing with your Roman citizenship and with your privileges as a Roman. Right? How would you preach the Philippians that same message to Americans?
Yeah, that's the big question. I wonder if there's a difference between what Paul was doing in the context of the collapse of the old world and the fact that we live in a Christianized world today.
We live in a Christianized world, but that has
like,
been
in other
sapped of all of it.
Sure. But
yeah.
but like, let's take it back to like 17th century England or something, where the queen, the monarch, was the head of the church. Right?
Yeah.
And to give fealty to the monarch was to give fealty
to Christ as well. Yeah.
To Christ.
Yeah.
I wonder if there's a difference there, because like I don't think you can say otherwise. The implication is that you become a radical revolutionary, the people that Luther was opposed to.
Yeah, no, I don't think Paul is telling them to do that.
No, but some leftists take
absolutely
that direction.
Yeah.
So how do you thread that needle? Like how do you? Because I do think that we have duties and obligations to the nation, which is an extension of our natural family.
Yeah.
And the church. And I'm, like these are the conflicts I think.
Well, I don't think. I mean, this is something you would ask if you were in first century Philippi. Does this mean I just like?
But I'm saying
no. But
this is pre-70, right? This is.
Yeah. But even there, like, do I just take to the hills now and create a completely alternative society? Do I?
Well, yes, that's what he's saying. Then.
Yeah.
Then in the first century, yes.
Yeah, but not one that's like violent and revolutionary and subversive.
Okay,
like
right.
Overtly subversive.
Like unlike the Zealots.
Yeah, but one that stands outside of it. Yeah. That is like, no, we're not.
But
we're not this
way. Did
way.
everything change with Constantine, where we could operate within it?
Yeah. Yeah, I think
that's what I'm saying.
I think so. Yeah.
The first century is a different context.
Well, it did, but modernism deconstantinized the world.
Okay, that's a really good point.
Yeah. It's put us in a position almost like the old covenant world in many ways. I mean, not in every way. It's not analogous, like totally analogous, but you have. I mean, I think of all of the people that like, that freak out over Christian nationalism. Ooh. And what it is like they they live in this in a totally modern world that's totally secularized, where Christianity, if they believe it even, is just this internal thing, and it's never allowed to escape the confines of your heart. And otherwise, like the God that they worship, the idols that they worship are things like democracy and I mean, you name, free, voting rights and like just
Equality,
equality and all of these, very modern liberal ideas. And if you challenge them, they freak out like you just blasphemed their God,
which you did.
which yeah. And so that is what I mean, that's what Paul was calling the Philippians to do.
Yeah.
Was to say, no, you're not pagans anymore. You don't live in this pagan way of life, which was all consuming. It wasn't just like we look at paganism and we anachronistically apply like modern pluralist, secularist sensibilities to it. And it's like, no, it's every aspect of life, like everywhere you go. Right? If you want to go to the butcher shop and get some meat, well, that meat's going to be sacrificed to idols. Right? Everything you do business with is going to be, they're going to have idols everywhere. I mean, it very much is like America, at least before the last year, where everywhere you go, there's a rainbow flag or the hideous trans flag or whatever, like everywhere, right? You can't get a cup of coffee without that being right there in your face. You want to go to, Best Buy and pick up a phone charger, and it's like, boom, the pronouns of the employee are right there. It's like it's unavoidable, inescapable, right? It's a very similar world that to the world of the early church, much more similar than we realize, because we think we've privatized everything, but we've just created a new all-consuming religion.
So here's where it comes full circle. And this is the thing that I have trouble with, and I could write about this. This is actually
You should write about this.
But here's where it comes full circle. Is the solution now a sort of sense of modern 2K retreatism? Like, you know what I mean? Should we engage the public square in terms of our national obligations? Or should we head for the catacombs with our church? Which the theonomists would never be on board with that.
No. No, I think you do. I think you do engage it, partly because like it's not that long ago, right? These memories of Christendom.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that long ago. In many cases, the last remaining things, like, I mean, that even in this, interview with Rogan, right, it starts out with this controversy over the 10 Commandments, like the state legislature in Texas wants to put the 10 Commandments back in the schools. And the guy's like, it's so horrible. I can't believe it, and like, never do you stop and ask, like, wait, they're putting them back in, which means they were there like 50 years ago. And they were always, like, from the time that public schools started in the mid 19th century.
No one had a constitutional problem with it for 250
They were
years.
always there. It was just always part of it. And no one ever thought, like, oh, we probably shouldn't do this because of the First Amendment. Like, that never entered anyone's minds until the 1960s.
Yeah, in fact, the people that signed the Constitution had established churches in the
Yes. Yeah. And so, like, it's not that long ago that this was just simply part of life. And we think there's just no way we could ever go back to Christianity being the center of American culture. And it does seem like, I don't know how, I don't know the pathway to that happening, but crazier stuff has happened in the past, right? Things can happen very quickly. And so, no, I think it's a priority to engage.
Yeah.
Right. It absolutely is. Right. Especially because, at least a third or maybe more than that of Americans, and actually,
so I think
a third of Americans are self-consciously Christian. Maybe half or more are have a positive view of Christianity or would describe themselves as Christians.
So I think the answer is that when we think of the church as being an alternative city, we should think of it as not something that's been pushed into the catacombs, but something that permeates into society instead of paganism or modernism.
Yeah.
That's how it's an alternative.
That's right. Yeah, it's an alternative way of life and of living within
An
the
alternative
world.
cultural ethos, an ethical vision, a sociological vision. But it does touch the bodies of the natural order. And so it's not an alternative in a catacomb retreatist way.
Yeah, we're getting out of here. We're not doing this. No, I don't think so. That's absolutely right. And that's the way that they lived. They didn't go hide. I mean, if there was intense persecution or something like that, then maybe.
Yeah. But they converted the emperor. That's what they did.
I mean, it grew to the point that, that the emperor of the entire known world became a Christian.
Mm-hmm.
And all of the emperors, save Julian the Apostate, were Christians after that. Like it never went back.
Yeah.
And that is powerful. And what didn't happen. I mean, it's funny when you think of like modern evangelicalism and kind of how they view history and view the history of the early church.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Everyone always applies like themselves to history and put themselves into history. And I'm sure, like, and I was like this too, but probably before I read this book, where they just thought like, oh, the apostles are out, doing evangelism, handing out gospel tracts and things like this, and just getting people saved. And it's like, well, yeah, I mean, obviously they're preaching the gospel and so forth, but it was the life of the church that brought people into the kingdom as much as the preaching,
mm-hmm.
right? It's that, oh, I see your way of life is totally different than mine. And that's, I mean, that's how many people get saved. Maybe most people get saved today is like they encounter Christians and their way of life and see that it's very different, right? It isn't like, oh, you convinced me, your logical syllogisms did their trick and now I believe. Right. Of course, there's always arguing and working through things out rationally, but always it becomes a thing like, what do you want to believe?
Mm-hmm.
Right. What is it you want to believe is true? And then you find like the rational self-justifications just fall into place when that shifts, when it's like, well, I wanted to believe in this Reddit slop world, but now I don't anymore. Yeah. Now I see your way of living is better and attractive, and it's what I want. That I think is far more potent and powerful. So I said 11. I mean, 12 it's just like two sentences. Gary's got to get going.
Go.
We only have so many we've only got seven sections left.
Let's answer this question and then let's break.
Okay.
Because Gary's going to go. And I definitely don't.
This question is going to take half an hour.
How do you balance return versus founding a new
with a V? Yeah, return with a V.
I like this question. I think
you love it. I think about this a lot too.
Yeah. My answer is that all true foundings have to be revitalizations. They have to be They have to be absorbing the best things of the past, revitalizing them, giving fresh energy, and building anew in the midst of chaos.
Yeah,
I don't think this constant severance between now and the past is healthy. In fact, that's very Jacobin and left wing.
Yeah.
But this obsession with returning in the sense that you can't ever build anything new is also dangerous. Yeah. I think the key word is revitalization.
Yeah. Or
take what's best, apply it to new circumstance.
Yeah. Or that you can go back and recreate the things that were lost exactly. Right. That somehow we're going to have Christendom again and Christian monarchs and things like that. Like, no, there's no going back like that. You're not hopping in a time machine and rebuilding that world.
You can take the ethos of what is best of your heritage.
Yeah.
Putting fresh life into it.
Yeah. And
applying it to new circumstance.
Yes, precisely. That you look to the past and you look to the glories of the past.
You look to your fathers.
To go forward into the future.
Yeah.
Because our situation is very different. This is not something that there really is any precedent for in the history of Christendom. And so what it looks like, the shape that it takes, the direction that it goes, the things that we do, will, as a result, look very different. And yet, and the things that we build and create, the world that we leave to our children and our grandchildren will look different than those. Even if we're like successful in everything we set out to do, it is going to look very different. And like you do learn lessons from the past. Like, how did we get here? Is one good lesson to learn. Like, how did we get here? I think some of the, as we go on, I want to definitely do the rest of this chapter and chapter 2 for sure. In subsequent episodes. But I do think that the modern Enlightenment individualistic world is collapsing. Totally. It is going away. It cannot continue anymore. I mean, part of it too is like and it's so revolutionary, right? That you have no past, you have no heritage, you have no people, you have nothing, right? It's saying you have no soul. And absolutely, that is what people want, is to have a soul once again. And so I think that
what a great ending.
Yeah, I think that's where we'll leave it for today. So for all of you, don't forget to like and subscribe and what else? Like sign up for the thing, to be a
supporting.
Yeah, what is a super
Contraundum pod?
Yeah, it's Supercast, right?
Supercast,
yeah. Become, if you like the stuff, you want us to do more stuff, and have better cameras and everything else.
Better Gary's.
Yeah, better versions of, we really want to get to Gary, 12.0, and that's going to cost us some money. So sign up, especially like we are getting close to finally pulling the trigger and getting the repeal of the 20th century started.
And we're gonna have a new studio again.
We will. So that's
gonna be fun.
It's gonna be really fun.
Money though.
It is gonna cost money, and it is. There'll be more room. Like you constantly won't be playing footsie with me. I'm getting sick of that.
I had my foot up first.
I'm bigger than you by a lot. Yeah, we used to be the same size.
That's true.
And then you lost 100 pounds. But so maybe I'll lose 100 pounds too. We'll see. But yeah, that costs some money. So please, if you're willing, sign up for that. And what else we got coming down the pike? I'm writing more now that I'm taking a sabbatical from chasing the current thing. I get to write a lot more. I have a little more time freed up to write, that's kind of my bailiwick, is writing. I'm not so good at talking. I don't talk so good.
That's like it's like the biggest lie you've ever told on here.
Not so good at talking. No. I'm not saying I don't like to talk. I'm just saying I'm not very good at it. Those are two different things, CJ. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and he's like, I'm the biggest introvert there is.
I am. I totally am. I mean, this is because, like, okay, hold on. An introvert is an extrovert. An extrovert is a person that is recharged by being around people, and an introvert is someone who gets more energy being alone. And
you totally get charged up. Yes, you're tired after.
No, I am.
But it's also 2 a.m. when you're done.
I'm exhausted. It exhausts me. Like even like Sundays at church, I am like I go home and take a nap after that.
Everyone gets something.
Yeah, but I never need naps for ever. But on Sundays, I'm wiped out completely.
Good.
It's a day of rest.
And that's right. You're right, Gary. You're right. We should all be taking naps on Sunday. But the problem is, if I take a nap, then my wife is like with the kids, and I feel bad. And she's keeping them away from me so I can sleep. And she doesn't get a nap, so that's not fair. That's not fair.
We're all about fairness on this show.
Yeah, I know. That's right. We love equality, don't we, folks? But anyway, no, I get wiped out. Like when we go to the
goodbye rants, or
when we go to conferences, CJ like dips out all the time. Like he hides away, He doesn't want to ever talk to people because I'm an introvert. And I like hanging out with people, talking to people, but I'm exhausted at the end of it. Like the New Christendom Conference, right? This is the reason I performed so well in the New Christendom games, right?
Oh,
Is
boy.
I was going on like 4 hours of sleep a night, and I'm tired. I'm tired, man. I'm really tired. And that's why. It wasn't the altitude. It wasn't that it was 170 degrees out. It was the conference wiping me out. That's what did it. That's my story. Yeah, I get wiped up by being with people. I'm sorry.
All right. On that note,
and you ask my wife. Ask my wife.
I will.
She will tell you. No, Andrew needs alone time, and he needs alone time.
I'm going to ask if she thinks you're an extrovert or an introvert.
I've trained her to say an introvert.
That's going to get clipped. All right, Gary.
All right. So everyone, have a wonderful weekend. We will see you next week. Do we have an interview this week scheduled?
Yes, Jay Burden will be go live, and then next week, Gary can get this one out. Next week we have a very special interview with Ethan from
Vaubin
Books.
Vaubin Books.
Who's republishing? They just newly translated version of the most important book of our time, Camp of the Saints, with a foreword by Nathan Pinkoski. So both of them are going to join us.
Oh, that'll be great. Yeah.
Paying subscribers only.
Yeah. Sorry. You got to sign up. Sign up at supercastcontributionpod.com.
All right, Gary, I'm going to pass out.
All right. Stay peacefully dangerous. We will see you next.